Hello everyone, my name is Andres, and in celebration of this year's release of Avengers Infinity War, I am reviewing all previous MCU movies. This time, I am reviewing Captain America Civil War. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Captain America Civil War was released in 2016 and was sort of based on the comic book titled Civil War. Directors Joe and Anthony Russo returned to direct this movie after having done a marvelous job directing the previous movie Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now, the cast, people called it mockingly Avengers 2.5 just because of the long casting list. Even some of the actors in this movie called it like that. However, the producers still claimed it was first and foremost a Captain America story. More on that later. The movie stars Chris Evans as Steve Rogers / Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark / Iron Man, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes / The Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson / The Falcon, Chadwick Boseman as King T'Challa / The Black Panther, Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow, Don Cheadle as Lieutenant James Rhodes / War Machine, Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton / Hawkeye, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff / The Scarlet Witch, Paul Rudd as Scott Lang / Ant-Man, Paul Bettany as The Vision, Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and we have the return of William Hurt as General Thunderbolt Ross. As you can see, you probably can understand why everybody calls it Avengers 2.5 if you just have a look at the cast. Let's talk about the good stuff. And luckily, there's a lot of that in this movie. Once again, the cast is great. It's quite an extensive cast, but they all give a great performance. I would even go as far to say that I think it is Robert Downey Jr.'s best performance as Iron Man, and that's saying something. But what about the Avengers 2.5 thing? Like, okay, it's a big cast, but is that really true? Well, some people claim that this movie is the Avengers movie we should have gotten in Avengers Age of Ultron. I tend to disagree with that statement. First of all, because Avengers Age of Ultron is a good movie, so fuck off! Secondly, the Avengers movies are all about a team coming together, not about a team falling apart. I think that's the major difference with this movie. But yes, I agree, it's an ensemble movie, with almost every Avenger being present. And all of them get to share their side of the conflict. Yet, it is still a Captain America movie too. It's about the struggle that Captain America has with his brainwashed friend, Bucky. And Captain America won't abandon his friend even though the whole world says he's wrong. However, this movie is called Captain America Civil War. It is actually less biased towards Captain America than the comic book it was based on. That was just called Civil War. And that comic Iron Man became more and more the villain as the comic went on. Well, in this movie, it really shows both sides of the conflict. It shows them really well, and by the end of the movie, you can't help to think both sides were right, or at least had a point. Both were actually the good guys, just fighting for what they believed in. Well, in the comic, Iron Man was played as the bad guy at the end. Alright, villain time. Of course, you could say Iron Man or Captain America was the villain. But that statement isn't really correct, and you know it. There was an actual real villain in this movie. Baron Zemo, played by Daniel Brühl. Some people think he was once again a wasted Marvel villain that was just used as a plot device to put certain events into motion. And that he could have been left out entirely. And it wouldn't affect the story in any way. And there are others who think that Zemo was vital to the events that transpired in Captain America Civil War, and that he's one of the best MCU villains. I tend to lean more towards the former statement, that he could have been left out, but I really think some serious modifications had to be made to the script if that were true. I think just removing him in the script that was written for the movie now, some things wouldn't have made sense, and some scenes could never happen. Furthermore, I also like the backstory the writers gave him. So I don't think he was a complete one-note plot device that could have been left out entirely. Lastly, I want to praise the action, especially the airport scene. It was really the standout of this movie. Now on to the bad. I don't think there's a lot of bad in this movie. Most of that has been said when I talked about the villain. Also, once you really think about certain scenes in the movie, some parts of Zemo's plan were really based on luck. For example, at the end, he wanted both Captain America, Bucky, and Iron Man to show up. But there was no guarantee in his plan that Iron Man would actually show up. There was also a plotline about the Winter Soldier, like Winter Soldier clones, that after having watched this movie a couple of times, the movie spent way too much time on that. And it really starts to slow the movie down. Lastly, just before the spectacular airport scene begins, Iron Man and Cap are talking to each other, and Tony's head seems kind of detached from his Iron Man suit. The producers explained this mistake by saying they didn't have enough time and they didn't have an Avengers movie budget to work with. But it was really just a really large Captain America budget they had to work with. Which makes a lot of sense, yet it is just an excuse, albeit a very good one. The bad visual effects are still in the final cut of the movie. Alright, rating time. My ratings ranked from worst to best are as follows: shit, bad, meh, good, and awesome. And I gave Captain America Civil War a awesome. It's my favorite MCU movie by far, and I'm really curious whether or not Avengers Infinity War can change my mind. See you next time, where I will be reviewing Doctor Strange.